Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever came out of it, as far as we know. Earliest dates in the tombstone in the cemetery read 1660, 1670. There's Grovers and Cartwrights, Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as around here now. Well, as I said before, it's early morning. The only lights on in town are over by the tracks where a Polish mother just had twins. And the Joel Kroll house where Joe Jr.'s getting ready to deliver the morning paper. And down at the depot where Shorty Hawkins just flagged the 545 from Boston. There she is. Naturally, out in the country they've been lights on for some time, with milking and whatnot. But town folks sleep late. So another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, coming back from that baby case. Here's his wife coming downstairs to get breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. New hospital is named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first, though. A long time ago, in fact. She went out to visit her daughter, Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio. Died there. Pneumonia. But her body was brought back here. She's up in the cemetery now, in with a whole mess of Gibbses and Herseys. She was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congressional Church over there. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. There's Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast, too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got the call to go to Polistown 1:30 this morning. And that's Joe Kroll, delivering the morning paper.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Joe.
Want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it.
Anybody been sick, Doc?
No, some twins over in Polish Town. Joe, I see your teacher, Miss Foster, is going to get married.
Yes, sir. To a fella over in Concord.
Well, I declare, how do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course it ain't none of my business, but I think if a person starts out to be a teacher, he ought to stay.
How's your knee, Joe?
Fine, Doc. Everything's going good at all. Just like you said, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it telling you today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
I want to tell you something about that boy Joe Kroll there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated out of his class in high school. So he got a scholarship to go to Boston Tech. MIT, that is. Graduated out of his class there, too. It was all written up at the time in the Boston papers. Gonna be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out and he died in France. Yes, sir, all that education for nothing. What business he had picking a quarrel with the Germans, we still can't figure out to this day. But it all seemed perfectly clear to us at the time.
Get up, Bessie.
Here's how he knew some, delivering milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
Pair of twins over to Mrs. Gorzlowski's.
Twins, huh? This town's getting bigger and bigger every year.
Going to rain, Howie?
No, fine day. It'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Howie?
Oh, Bessie's going on 17. She's all screwed about the route, though, ever since the Lockhart stopped taking her for milk every day. She wants to deliver to him just the same. Keeps fooling the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Good morning, Miss Gibbs. Doc's just coming down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Something went wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was. Doc?
Howie?
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca. Is everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare easy as kittens.
Baby, will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You'll be able to catch a couple hours of sleep this morning, can't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming at 11. I guess I know what it's about, too. Her stomach's not what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what ought to become of you. I do wish you could go away someplace and take a rest. It would do you good.
Emily, it's time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
I declare you ought to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to cut some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George! Rebecca! George!
George, look sharp.
Yes, Pa.
George, don't you hear your mother calling you?
Wally, you'll be late for school.
I guess I'll go upstairs and take 40 winks.
Wally, watch yourself up good or I'll come up and do it myself.
Mom, there's Mother. Don't make a noise. Your father's trying to sleep. I washed an Ireland blue gingham for him. Special.
Mama, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
got a mill in our town, too. Hear it? Makes blankets. Cartwrights own it, and it's brought them a fortune.
Children, now I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling it down like wolves. They'll stunt your growth, that's a fact. Wally, put away your book.
Oh, Mom, it's 10 o'clock. I gotta get on over here today.
You know the rules as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright. I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age, and I have a wonderful memory to eat your breakfast.
Speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me like 25 cents a week's enough for a boy of your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
Oh, Mom, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphate, that's what you buy.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I said mine will get grabby. Now, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some money every now and then. Mom, you know I love this world, do you? Eat your breakfast.
There's Miss Beth. Gotta go. Now walk fast. You don't have to run. All right, pull up your pants at the knee.
Tell Miss Foster I sent my best congratulations. Can you remember that? Yes, Mom. Rebecca, you look nice. Pick up your feet. Here, chick, 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 chick. Here, chick. No, go away with you. What's the matter with you? Here, chick, chick. Come get your breakfast. Here, chick, 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 chick. No, stop it. All you do is fight. Now stop. Here, chick, 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 chick. Who are you? You don't belong to me. Shoot. Oh, good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still have that tickling feeling in my throat. Told Charles I didn't know I'd go to choir rehearsal tonight.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key. While I'm resting myself, I thought I'd string some of these beads for winter.
Let me help you with that. Beans have been good this year.
Decided to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. Children say they hate them. But I noticed they're able to put them down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something. Because if I don't tell someone, I'll burst.
Why, Julie and you?
Did the second-hand furniture man come to see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. Thought he was a patient, wanted to see Dr. Gibbs, and he wormed his way into my parlor. Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandma Wentworth's highboy. Right as I'm sitting here.
Why, Julie, I do.
He did. That old thing. Why, it was so big I didn't know what to do with it. I was going to give it away to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
I don't know.
You don't know? $350, Julia. What's come over you?
Well, if the doctor would take the money and go away someplace, I'd sell it like that. It's always been a dream of mine to visit Paris, France. Oh, I don't know. It's crazy, I suppose, but for a while now I've been promising myself that if we ever got the chance, we'd go.
Well, what does the doctor think about it?
Well, I beat around the bush a little. Told him if I ever got a legacy, that's the way I put it, that I'd make him do it.
What did he say?
Oh, you know how he is. Never a serious word come out of his mouth for as long as I've known him. Said it might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. And besides, every 2 years we take a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War. That's enough a treat for anyone, he says.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War, but Dr. Gibbs, being the greatest expert of the country, makes him despair.
That's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. The times I've walked those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush, pacing out every step like we was gonna buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's serious about buying, Julia, you sell it. Then you get to see Paris all right.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. It's just, it seems to me that before a person dies in their life, they should go to a place where they don't talk in English and don't even want to.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much. Now we'll skip a few hours. But before we do, we want a little more information about our town. A political and social report. Editor Webb. Mr. Webb.
I'll be here in a minute. He cut his hand while eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting.
Mr. Webb is the editor and publisher of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's a local paper, you know.
Democrats, and 4% Socialists. Rest, indifferent. Religiously, we are 86% Protestants, 12% Catholics. Rest, indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most. Probably a lot duller. But our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school come right back here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now we have a few questions from the audience. A woman asks, is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, I don't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights, the farmhands meet down in elderly greenhouse stable in Howard somewhere. We have a few town drunks, but they're always happy horses every time the evangelist comes to town. No, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing here in Grover's Corner, except for the medicine chips. Right good for the snake bite, you know. Always was.
A man asks, is no one in town aware of social injustice or industrial inequality?
Oh yes, terrible thing. Seems like all people talk about is who's rich and who's poor.
Why don't they do something about it?
I don't know. I guess we're all hunting in our own way. The sensible and diligent can rise to the top, and the troublesome and quarrelsome sink to the bottom. Meantime, we do all we can to help those who can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave well enough alone. Are there any other questions?
One more. A woman asks, is there much culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, not in the sense that she means. Come to think of it, there's some girls that play the piano down at high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, I'd say culture is a regular thing here in Grover's Corner. But maybe this is the place to tell you that we've got a lot of pleasures of a kind up here. Like the sun coming up over the mountain in the morning. And we pay a lot of attention to the birds. Yes, we all know them. Robinson Crusoe in the Bible, and Handel's Largo, and Whistler's Mother. But those are as far as we go.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll return to the town. It's 2 o'clock. All 2,642 have had their lunches, and all the dishes have been washed. The children have gone back to school. Buzzing and humming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies on Main Street. Horses dozing at their hitching posts. There is an early afternoon calm about the town. You all remember what that's like. Doc Gibbs in his office, tapping people and making them say, Mr. Webb's cutting his lawn over there. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower.
Who do you think you are?
Well, Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Now you go out and play in the fields, young man. You have no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine. That last time this court hearing talked about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why, can you?
You certainly do stick to it. I don't see how you can sit still that long. I guess you must like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind, but really, it passes the time.
Yeah. Emily, what do you think? We might work out a kind of telegram from your window to mine. And every once in a while you can give me a kind of hint or two about one of those algebra problems. Oh, I don't mean the answers, Emily. Of course not. Just some little hint.
Well, I think it's all right, George. So if you get stuck, George, you listen to me, and I'll give you some hints.
Emily, you're just naturally bright, I guess.
I figure it's just the way a person was born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
In the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I better be getting out to the baseball field. Thanks for the talk, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long,
course I will. Mama, am I good looking? Of course you are. All my children got good features. Be ashamed if they hadn't. Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty? I already said yes. But that's enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face. Well, Mama, you would never tell us the truth about anything. I am telling you the truth. Mama, were you pretty? Yes, I was, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright. But Mama, you've got to think something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody, to get people interested in me? Emily, you make me tired. Stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Come along now. Bring that bowl with you. Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Now I think this is a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have just begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go to Vermont for the marble, sorry to say. And they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people 1,000 years from now to dig up. Of course, we're putting in a copy of the New York Times and a copy of Mr. Webb's Sentinel. We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellas have found a way of painting all that reading matter with a kind of glue, silica glue, that'll make it keep for 1,000 years. We're putting in a Bible and a copy of the Constitution and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it, and all we know about them is the name of the kings, some wheat contracts, and the sales of slaves. Yes, every night, families sat down to supper, father came home, and the smoke went up the chimney. Same as around here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life of the people is what we can dig up from the joking poems and the comedies wrote for the theater back then. So, I'm going to have a copy of this play put in the cornerstone, so people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us. More than the Treaty of Versailles and the Lindbergh flight. See what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. Now we'll return to the town. It's evening. Near the choir practice going on at the Congregational Church over there. The children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day is running down like a tired clock.
All right, I'll try it again. And remember, music came into the world to give pleasure. Softer. Softer! Look, music isn't always good when it's loud. You leave the loudness to the Methodists. Couldn't be a man if you tried to. Now again, ladies.
Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't recall because I'm so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Yes, George, that's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Well, Emily, could you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Oh, square yards of wallpaper. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. Nice. Like terrible. There's choir practice going on. I think if you hold your breath, creep in the train all the way to close your mouth. Here?
What do you
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. Now, George, how old are you?
Me? I'm 16, almost 17.
And what do you want to do after school's over?
Why, you know, Pa. I'm gonna be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
You'll be willing, will you, to get up early, milk and feed the stock, and hoe and hay all day?
Sure I will. What do you mean, Pa?
When I was in my office this morning, I heard a funny sound. What do you think that sound was? It was your mother chopping wood. There you see your mother getting up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out into the backyard to chop wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking you. She just gave up and decided it would be easier to do it herself. You eat her meals. You put on the clothes she keeps nice for you. You go out and play baseball like she's some kind of hired girl that we keep around but we don't like very much. All I have to do is call it to your attention stuff. Here's a handkerchief. Now, George, I decided to raise your spending money to 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's sort of the gift you give her, but because you're getting older, and I imagine there are a lot of things you must find to do with it.
Thanks, Pa.
Let's see. Tomorrow's payday. You can count on it. Probably Rebecca will feel she ought to have one too. I wonder what could be keeping your mother. Bar practice never was as late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
I don't know why she's in that old choir anyway. She hasn't got one voice that don't grow. She's racing around the street this hour of the night. It's about time to retire, don't you think?
Yes, Pa.
I'll tell Mr. Webb. I know the one put it in the paper.
Mine's late. Good night, Irma. Real nice choir practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Bud, look at that moon. Potato weather for sure. Well, naturally, I didn't have to say a word in front of those others. But now that we're alone, really, it's the worst scandal, year after year. Well, Julia, you know he was drunk tonight. Now, well, we all know about Simon Stimson, and we know about the troubles he's been in. And Pastor Ferguson knows too. And if Pastor Ferguson chooses to keep him there in his job, the best we can do is to just not notice it. Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen quite as often. I hate to go to bed on a night like this. Gracious, I better hurry. Those children will be up till all hours. Good night, Luella. Good night, Julia.
Good night, Myrtle. Can you get home safe, Luella? Oh, it's bright as day. I can see Mr. Soames scowling at the window. You think we've been to a dance like the men folk carry on? Good night, Julia. Good night, Luella. You want a fun day? See you then. Well, we had a real nice time.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it ain't any later than usual.
Stopping on the corner to gossip with a lot of pens.
Now, Frank, don't be grouchy. Come on, smell my heliotrope in the moonlight. Come on.
Why?
Isn't this wonderful? What did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about?
Oh, believe me, Frank, there's something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson hard gone, was he?
Worst I've ever seen him. Hold that in, Frank. Pastor Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anyone in this town. Some people aren't made for small town life. Now, I don't know how that'll end, but there's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Get in.
No, not yet, Frank. I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
I think it's my duty for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, I'm going to insist on it.
Julia, there is no sense starting over that again.
Frank, you're just being unreasonable.
Come on, Julia. Get inside. And you know you'll catch a cold. Hey, George, you least mind mine tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood chopped. For a while, anyways. Oh, no, Mom, start getting upstairs.
Oh dear, there's always so many things to pick up, it seems. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild locks her front doors every night. All the people in that part of town do.
They're all getting citified. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got anything fit for Virgo and everybody knows.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did. There's no moon there. George, you know, I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer. It'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting near, the people who sit up all night with telescopes would see it first, and they'd tell us about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
9:30. Most of the lights in town are out. There's Constable Warren, trying a few doors on Main Street. Here's Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Evening, Bill.
Good evening, Mr. Webb.
It's quite a moon.
Yeah?
You any trouble tonight?
Simon Simpson is rolling around a little. Saw his wife moving off the hunt for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. I guess we've been doing the same. Can I walk a long ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Oh, you seem to pick a trouble one thing or another. Oh, Bill, see my boy smoking cigarettes. Give him a word, will you? Thanks a lot of them.
Not that he smokes no cigarettes. Leastways, not more than 2 or 3 a year.
I hope not. Good night, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Who's up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why aren't you in bed?
I don't know, I just can't sleep yet. Moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell must give healing to us. Can you smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa, no.
Don't let your mother catch you.
Good night, Papa.
Never told you about that letter Jane Crawford got from the minister when she was sick. He wrote you a letter, and on the envelope, the address is of this. It said, Jane Crawford, Crawford on Rovers Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's so funny about
Well,
that?
listen, it's not finished. United States of America, continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said in the envelope.
What do you know?
Yep, posted and delivered it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act, friends. Act 2 begins in a few minutes. Friends, the sun has come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born before have begun to talk regular sentences. And a number of people who thought they were right young and spry have noticed they can't bound up a flight of steps like they used to, now without their heart fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing it and trying in other ways too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Yes, the mountains got bit away a few fractions of an inch. Millions of gallons of water passed by the mill. And here and there, a new home set up under a roof. Almost everybody in the world gets married, you know what I mean? In our town, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Most everybody climbs into the grave married. The first act is called The Daily Life. This act is called Love and Marriage. So it's 3 years later, 1904, July 7th, just after high school commencement. That's the time most of our young people jump up to get married. As soon as they've passed their last examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's orations, it looks like they suddenly feel themselves fit to get married. It's early morning again, only this time it's been raining. It has been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden, Mrs. Webb's here, drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines, drenched. Yesterday, along Main Street, looked like curtains being blown along. Don't know now. Maybe gonna get in any minute. There's a 5:10 train for Boston. There's Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast, just as if it were any ordinary day. Now, I don't have to point out to the women in the audience that both these women they see before them, both these women have cooked 3 meals a day, one for 20 years and the other for 40, and no summer vacation. They've raised 2 children apiece, washed, cleaned the house, and never had a nervous breakdown. Never felt themselves hard used either. It's like one of those Middle West boys used to say. You've got to love life to have life, and you've got to have life to love life. That's what they call a vicious circle.
Yeah, Bessie.
Here comes Howie Newsom and Bessie, delivering the milk. Oh, that's like Kroll, delivering the morning papers like his brother did before.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Si. Anything in the papers I don't know?
Nothing much. Just that the best baseball player Phillips Corners ever had, George Gibbs, is quitting.
I reckon he is.
No, dude, don't expect today.
Whoa, Bessie. Guess I can stop and walk by to mine, too.
You get it soon, and on the bases.
Mighty fine ball places.
I can't see how he can do something like that just to get married. Would you have Howie?
Can't tell, Si. Never had much out that way.
Morning, Howie.
Hello, Bill. You're up early.
Morning, Ford.
If there's anything I can do to prevent a flood, river's been rising all night.
Si, volunteers all grown up. Oh, George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir. That's what I know. 84 side we had a player. New George Gibbs. Name it ain't Todd. I'm not amazing to became a Parsons. Wonderful ball player. Howie, how's the weather seem to you?
Ain't bad. They made up there for good. Bill!
Howie?
Good morning, Miss Gibbs.
Good morning, Howie.
Too bad with the weather. It's burning so heavy, I think maybe it'll clear up.
Certainly hope it will.
How much did you want today?
Well, I'm going to have a hospital of relations, Howie. Looks to me like I'll need 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
3 of milk and 2 of cream. Oh, my wife told me to tell you as we both will be happy. No, they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie. Tell your wife I hope she gets to the wedding.
Maybe she can. She'll get there if she can. Good morning, Miss Webb.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom. I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes, sir. And 2 of cream. Oh, Miss Newsom told me to tell you special as we hope they'll be happy. No, they will.
Thank you. And thank Mrs. Newsom. Hope to see you at the church.
Hope to get there right. Don't miss that. Come on, Bessie.
Oh, Mom, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Frankie, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute. Sit down and drink your coffee.
Groom's up shaving himself. Only there ain't an awful lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says I do to the mirror, but it don't sound convincing to me.
I don't know how they'll get along. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it his feet are dry and he's got warm things on. They're too young. Emily won't think of such things. They'll catch their death of cold within a week.
I remember my wedding morning, Julia.
Don't start that, Frank Gibbs.
The scaredest young fellow in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I'd made a mistake for sure. When I saw you come down the aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. The trouble was that I'd never seen you before. I was in a congregational church, marrying a total stranger.
How do you think I felt? Weddings are such awful things. Farces, that's what they are. There, I've made you something.
Why, Julia Hershey, French toast.
Tain't hard to make. Besides, I had to do something.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I heard most of the hours struck off.
Yeah, I get a shock of every time I think of George setting out to be a family man. That great gangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there's nothing so terrifying in this world as a son. The relation of father and son is the damnedest, awkwardest.
Mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They'll have their troubles, I suppose, but that's none of our business. Everyone has a right to their own troubles.
Yeah, people are meant to live 2 by 2 in this world. Can't naturally be lonesome.
Julia, do you know one of the things I was scared of when I married you?
Oh, go along with you.
I was afraid that we didn't have material for conversation more than last us a few weeks. I thought we'd run out and eat our meals in silence. That's a fact. But you and I have been conversing for 20 years now without any noticeable barren spells.
Well, good weather or bad weather, tain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
No, any day of the year she's not managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in the room. got the idea she's crying.
Lord sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come get your breakfast!
Good morning, everybody. Only 4 more hours to live.
George Gibbs, where are you going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
No, you don't go out without your boots. It's raining torrents.
It's just, oh, Ma, it's just a step.
No, George. Catch your death of cold and cough all through the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
Tomorrow morning you can kill yourself in all weathers, but while you live in my house, you'll live wisely. Thank you. Perhaps Mrs. Webb isn't used to callers at 7 in the morning. Take a cup of coffee first.
Be back in a minute. Good morning, Mother Webb.
Goodness, George. Frighten me. Now, George, I hate to say this. You can stand in here a minute out of the rain, but George, you understand I can't ask you when.
Why not?
George, you know as well as I do. The groom can't see his bride on his wedding day. Not before he sees her in church.
Well, that's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Webb, you don't believe in that superstition, do you?
There's a lot of common sense in superstitions, George.
Millions follow them. And don't you be the first to fly in your face of custom.
How's Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. Haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
Well, no wonder. We've been up all night sewing and packing. Now, George, I'll tell you what I'll do. You sit down here, Mr. Webb, drink this cup of coffee. I'll go up and see if she can't come down and surprise you. There's some bacon, too. Don't be long about it.
Well, George, how are you?
I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what common sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, George, on the wedding morning, girls' heads have to be full of low clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes, I never thought of that.
Girls have to be in my nervous on their wedding day.
Gee, I wish a person could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way, George. But it hasn't been any use. It's women folk who built a wedding boy. All those good-natured women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure the knot's tied in a mighty public way.
You believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Yes. Oh, yes. Now, don't get me wrong, George. Marriage is a wonderful thing. A wonderful thing. And don't you forget that.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, see, I'd been away to college, and I'd take a little time to get settled down, but Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than what Emily is now. Oh, age hasn't got a thing to do with it. Not compared to, other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
I don't know. Was it going to say something? Charles, I was just thinking back to when I got married, what my father said to me. Charles, he said, yes, he said, start right off showing his boss. Give her an order, even if it doesn't make sense, just so that she learns to obey. And if something about her irritates you, her manner, speech, anything, get right up and leave the house. That'll show her. No, yes, Charles, he said, never let your wife know how much money you have, ever.
Well, I couldn't exactly...
So I took the opposite. His advice has been happy ever since. So let that be a lesson to you, never to take personal advice from anybody. George, are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
What?
Are you raising chickens on your farm?
Yes, my Uncle Luke has never...
A book came into my office the other day, the Philo system of raising chickens. I'm thinking of beginning a small way myself, an incubator in the cells.
Charles Webb, are you talking about that incubator again? I thought you two would be talking about things more worthwhile.
Well, if you want to talk about things more worthwhile, George, I'll go upstairs.
George, Emily has to come down and eat her breakfast. She sends her love, but she doesn't want to lay her eyes on you. Goodbye.
Well, Myrtle, I guess you didn't know about that older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the caveman, the bridegroom has not been allowed to see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding or near it. Now remember that.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Now we'll have to interrupt you again. You see, we want to know a little more information about how all this began. wedding. Plan to spend a lifetime together. I'm awfully interested in how such big things like that begin. You know how it is. You're 21 or 22, and you make some decisions, and whoosh! You're 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that white-haired lady by your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? Well, George and Emily are going to show you now the conversation they had when they first knew that, as the saying goes, they were meant for one another. But before they do, I want you to try and remember what it was like when you were very young. Particularly the days when you were first in love. You were like a person sleepwalking. You didn't quite see the road you're walking on. You didn't quite hear everything said to you. You were just a little bit crazy. Will you remember that, please? Now, they'll be coming out of high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president. And as this is June, that means he'll be president of the senior class all next year. And Emily has just been elected secretary and treasurer. Here they're coming down Main Street now.
I can't, Lois. I've got to go home. Bye. Oh, Ernestine, can you come over tonight and do Latin? Isn't that sister the worst thing? Well, tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Emily, can I carry your books home for you?
Oh, thank you. It's not far.
Excuse me 1 minute, Emily, will you? Say, Bob, if I'm a little late, start practice. Oh, give Herb some long high ones.
Goodbye, Lizzie.
Oh, goodbye. I'm awful glad you were elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, I might as well say it right out. George. Oh, goodbye, Miss Corcoran.
Well, goodbye. What is it?
Well, I don't like the whole change that's come over in the last year. I'm sorry for it hurts your feelings, but I've just got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. I used to watch you while you did everything, because we've been friends so long. And then you began to spend all your time at baseball. You never stopped to speak to anybody anymore. Not to really speak. Not even to old family you didn't. And George, it's a fact. Ever since you've been elected captain, you've got all stuck up and conceited. And all the girls say so. And it hurts me to hear him say it, but I've got to agree with him a little, because it's true.
Gosh, Emily, I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have some faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect. And I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I feel it's the other way around. That men are naturally good, but girls aren't.
Well, you might as well know right now that I'm not perfect. It's not easy for a girl to be as perfect as a man. Because, well, we girls are more nervous. No, I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily,
Well, obviously it's not the truth at all. And I slowly feel that stuff for the anyway.
Emily, would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
Thank you.
Hello, Stu. How are you? Good afternoon, Mrs. Slocum.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What'll you have? Why, Emily Webb, what have you been crying about?
Oh, she had an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. That hardware store wagon almost ran over her. Everyone says Tom Hawkins drives like a crazy man.
Oh, you take a good drink of water, Emily. You look all shook up. I tell you, you got to look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. It's worse every year. What'll you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate, Mr. Morgan.
No, Emily. Have a soda with me.
But I don't-
2 strawberry ice cream sodas.
strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I want to tell you, there are 225 horses in Grover's Corners this minute I'm talking to you. The state inspector was in here yesterday. Now they're bringing in these automobiles. Best thing to do is just stay home. Why, I can remember when a dog used to sleep in the middle of the street all day and nothing ever come along to disturb him. There you are. Yes, Mrs. Ellis, I'll be with you in a minute. What can I do for you?
They're so expensive.
No, Emily, don't you think of that. We're celebrating our election. And do you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who tells me everything that ought to be told to me.
Well, George, please don't think of that. I don't know why I said it. It's not true.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me like you did. But you'll see, I'm going to change so quick, you bet I'm going to change. And Emily, I'd like to ask you a favor.
Yes?
If I go away to State Agricultural College next year, will you write me a letter every once in a while?
Certainly will. Certainly will, George. Certainly seems like we've gone through you so you get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners would be so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of all of the answer. But I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything about our town. I know that's true, Emily.
Well, I'll try to make my letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agricultural school to be a good farmer.
Why, George?
Yeah, and some of them even say it's just a waste of time. You can get all that stuff in the pamphlets the government sends out anyway. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start taking over the farm. Tomorrow if I could.
Hi.
And like you say, being gone all that time, in other places and meeting other people, gosh, if anything like that can happen, I don't want to go away. I bet new people probably aren't any better than old ones. I bet they almost never are. And Emily, I feel you're as good a friend as I've got. I don't need to go and meet people in other towns.
But George, maybe it's important for you to go and learn all that. Well, cattle judging and soils and those things. Yes, I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
Hi, George, I don't see where I have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you told me about that fault in my character. What you said was right, but there was one thing wrong in it. That's where you said I wasn't noticing people, and you, for instance. Why you said you're watching me and I was doing everything? Why did the same about you all the time? Why, sure, I thought of you as one of the chief people I thought about. I was made sure where you were sitting on the bleachers and who you were with. And for 3 days now, I've tried to walk home with you, but something always got in the way. Yesterday, I was standing by the wall waiting for you, and you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
Why, George? Life's awful funny. How could I have known that? I thought...
Emily, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agricultural school. I think that once you found a person you're very fond of, a person who's very fond of you too, and likes you well enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college is, and even more so. That's what I think.
I think that's awfully important, too.
Emily,
Yes, George?
Emily, if I do improve and make a big change, would you be, could you be?
I am now. I always have been.
So, I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
Wait 1 minute and I'll walk you home. Mr. Morgan, I'll have to go home to get the money to pay for this.
What's that? Why, George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me?
Yes, but I have reasons, Mr. Morgan. Look, here's my gold watch for you to keep until I come back with the money.
Keep your watch, George. I don't trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Trust you for 10 years, George. Not a day over. Got all over your shock, Emily?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Most definitely.
I'm ready.
Well, now we'll get on to the wedding. There are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. There are a lot of thoughts that go on during a wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding, though, especially a wedding at Grover's Corners, where weddings are mighty plain and short. In this play, I take the part of the minister. That gives me the right to say a few things more. Yes, for a while now, the play gets pretty serious. You see, some churches believe that marriage is a sacrament. I don't quite know what that means, but I can guess. Like Mrs. Gibbs said a few minutes ago, people are born to live 2 by 2 in this world. This is a good wedding. People are young, but they come from a good state, and they chose right. The real hero of the scene isn't on the stage at all. And you all know who that is. Like one of those European fellows said, every time a child is born, it's nature's attempt to make a perfect human being. Well, we've seen nature pushing and contriving for some time now. We all know she's interested in quantity, but I think she's interested in quality too. Maybe she's trying to make another good governor for New Hampshire. That's what Emily hopes for. And don't forget the other witnesses at this wedding. The ancestors. Millions of them. Most of them set out to live 2 by 2 in this world. Millions of them. Well, that's my sermon. Wasn't very long anyway.
I don't know why I'm essentially crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. This morning at breakfast it came over me. There was Emily eating her breakfast as she's done for 17 years, and she's going out of my house. Yes, that must be it. Emily. Suddenly she said, I can't eat another mouthful. Then she laid her head on the table and she cried. You know, I just got to say it. It's downright cruel the way we send our girls out to marriage like this. It's cruel, I know, but I just couldn't get myself to say anything. I went into it lying to bat myself. The whole world's wrong. That's what's the matter.
George, what's the matter?
Ma, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
Why, George, you wanted this.
No, Ma, listen to me.
No, George, you're a man now.
Listen, Ma, for the last time I ask you, all I want to do is to be a fella.
George, if anyone should hear you, now stop. I'm ashamed of you.
What? Where's Emily?
George, you gave me such a turn.
Sure, Mom. I'm getting married.
Let me catch my breath a minute.
Come on, you say it's Thursday nights. Emily and I are coming over for dinner every Thursday night. You'll see. Boy, Mom, what are you crying for? Come on, we gotta get ready for this.
I've never felt so alone in my whole life. And George over there. I hate him. I wish I were dead. Papa.
Emily, now it'll be all right.
Papa, I don't want
Why are you marrying a fine fellow? George is the finest fellow in the world.
Oh, Papa,
George, you giving away my daughter. Do you think you can take care of her?
Mr. Webb, I want to. I want to try. Emily, I'm going to do my best. I love you, Emily. I need you.
well, if you love me, help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I will try.
And I mean forever. Do you hear? Forever and ever.
Come, you're waiting for us. It's time. Now it'll be all right.
Do you, George, take this one?
Perfectly lovely wedding. Loveliest wedding I ever saw. Oh, I do love a good wedding. Don't you? Doesn't she make a lovely bride?
I do.
Do you, Emily, take this
I
man,
don't know when I've
George?
seen such a lovely wedding. I always cry. I don't know why it is, but I always cry. I just like to see young people happy. Don't you? Oh, I think it's lovely. I do.
I've married 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? I don't know. I suppose I do. And Mary's Inn, millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart. The Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford. First rheumatism, grandchildren. Second rheumatism, deathbed. The reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times is interesting.
Aren't they a lovely couple? Oh, I've never been to such a nice wedding. I just think that they'll be happy. That's what I always say. Happiness, that's the great thing. The important thing is to be happy.
That's the end of the second act, folks. We can go out and get refreshments now. Those that want them. 9 years have gone by. Summer 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers coming into town now in Fords. Everybody likes craft stores at night now. Ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about them. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop. Windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon and you can see range on range of hills. Off over there, up there by Lake Sunapee and Lake Winnipesaukee. And if you go way up, you can see Mount Washington, the White Mountains, where Conway and North Conway are. And of course, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnock, with the surrounding towns, Jaffrey and North Jaffrey, Peterborough, Dublin. And down there, way down there, is Grover's Corners. Yes, beautiful spot up here. Mount Laurel and lilacs. I often wonder why people like to be buried in Woodlawn in Brooklyn, even though I passed the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over here are the old stones. 1660, 1670. Strong-minded people that come a long way to be independent. Some people walk around up here laughing at the funny words in the tombstones. Genealogists come up from Boston, get paid by city people. They want to make sure they're daughters of the American Revolution, of the Mayflower. Don't do any harm either. Over here are some Civil War veterans. Iron flags in their graves. New Hampshire boys had a notion that the Union ought to be kept together, although they've never seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was the name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America. And they went and died about it. Over here is the the new part of the cemetery. There's your friend Mrs. Gibbs, and Mr. Stimson, the organist at the Congregational Church. Here's Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much, remember? Oh, and Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst while he was on a Boy Scout trip to Crawford Notch. Yes, awful lot of sorrow come up here. People just wild with grief when they brought the relatives to this spot. And the times, sunny days, rainy days, snow. We all know how it is. A lot of thoughts come up here too, day and night. But there's no post office. Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal, and it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. Everybody knows it in their bones that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years, and yet you would be surprised how many people are always letting go of that fact. You know, the dead don't stay interested in us living people very long. Gradually, they let go of the earth, and the things they've had, and the pleasures they've had, and things they've suffered, and the people they loved. They get weaned away. That's the way I put it, weaned away. They stay here for a while, the earth part of them burns away, burns out. All the while, they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting. They're waiting for something they feel is coming. Aren't they waiting for that eternal part of them to come out clear? Some of the things they say maybe will hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and might, all those terribly important things kind of grow pale around here. And what's left? What's left when the memory's gone and your identity, Mrs. Smith? Well, here are some living people. There's Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, supervising a new made grave. And here comes Sam Craig, Grover's Corners boy who left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me see. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Gracious sakes alive. Of all people, I should have known you were back at the funeral. It's been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years. I'm in business out in Buffalo now, Joe. But I was in the East when I heard news of my cousin's death. So I thought I'd combine things a little and come back and see you go home. You look well.
Yes, yes. Can't complain. Very sad return today, Sam.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I always say, I hate to supervise when a young one is taken. They'll be here in a few minutes now. I had to come here early today. My son is supervising at home.
Hey, Brother McCarthy. I used to do chores for him after school. He had no bingo.
Yes. We brought Farmer McCarthy here a number of years ago now.
This is my Aunt Julia. I've forgotten that she had...
Yes. Doc Gibbs lost his wife, 2 or 3 years ago, about this time. Today's another bad blow for him, too.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam. Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Now, Simon.
Do they choose their own verses much, Joe?
No, not usual. Mostly it's the breathing that hurts.
Doesn't sound like Aunt Julia. Well, there aren't many of those Hershey sisters left now, I suppose. Now, let me see. I want to look at my father's mother.
Over with Craig. Avenue N.
He was an organist at church, wasn't he? Drake Love used to say.
Nobody was supposed to know about it. He'd trouble. Took his own life though.
Did he?
Hung himself in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but of course he got around. He wrote his own epitaph. See it there. Ain't a verse exactly.
Why, just some notes of music. What is it?
No one would know. It was wrote up in the Boston papers at the time.
Joe, what did she die?
Who?
My cousin.
Oh, you didn't know? She had some trouble bringing a baby into the world. It was her second, though. It was a little boy about 4 years old.
The greatest one to be over here?
Yes, there ain't much more room among the Gibbses, so they're opening up a whole new Gibbs section over at F&B. So excuse me now. I see they're coming.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Well, I declare, the road up here must have been awfully muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth? I'd forgotten all about that. My, wasn't life awful and wonderful?
Wonderful. Was it?
Now remember, Simon.
I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? And I remember Emily reading the class poem at graduation exercises. She was one of the brightest girls ever to graduate from high school. I remember Principal Wilson say so time after time. I visited them on their farm just before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm. It's on the same road we live now.
Right, somewhere far.
I was like that. I was hoping it to get in. Hello. Hello, Emily.
Hello, Miss Gibbs.
Hello, Mother Gibbs.
Emily.
It's raining.
Yes, dear. They'll be gone soon.
It seems thousands and thousands of years since I... Oh, Papa remembered that was my favorite hymn. Oh, I wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being new here. What do you do, Mr. Stinson?
What do you do? Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I turned that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and the great Marksman drinking frog for the stock. We bought that on the money you left us.
I did.
Do you remember, Mother Gibbs, the legacy you left us? Why, it was over $350.
Yes. Yes, Emily.
Well, there's this patent device on the drinking cup, so that it never overflows, Mother Gibbs, and it never sinks below a certain amount we have there. It's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. High people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? I feel as though everything lasted 1,000 years ago. Mother Gibbs, my little boy spent the day at Miss Carter's. Mr. Carter, my little boy spent the day at your house. Yes, he loves it there. Mother Gibbs gave it 4 too. Never gives any trouble. No draft milk. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away of being one of them? How long does it?
Just wait and be patient.
I know. Look, they're finished. They're going. Look, Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. It's just like George, doesn't he? Mother Gibbs, I never realized before how control and how the dark side persons are. Look at him. I love him so. Morning till night, that's all they are. Trouble.
No clue that it was.
Yeah, that rain cooled it off a little.
Those northeast winds always do the same thing, don't they? Can't rain, 3 day below.
Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back into living. I feel it, I know it. Then for a moment I was thinking about the farm. And for a moment I was there. And my baby was on my lap as plain as day.
Yes, of course you can.
I can go back and live all those minutes over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Yes, some have tried, but they soon come back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, don't. It's not what you think it'd be. But I won't look over a sad day. I'll choose a happy day. I'll choose the day that I first when I love George. Oh, why should that be painful?
You not only live it, but you want yourself living it.
Yes.
time of the day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn. You remember it had been snowing for a couple of days, but it had stopped the night before, and they had begun clearing the roads. Sun's coming up.
Look, there's Main Street. And there's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And the livery stable.
Yes, this is 1899, and 14 years ago.
Well, this is the tower I knew as a little girl. And look, there's the old white fence that used to be around your house. I've forgotten that. I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes, your mother will be coming downstairs in a few minutes to make breakfast.
Will she?
And you remember, your father had been away for a couple of days. Came back on the early morning train.
Oh.
Yes, he'd been away to his old college to make a speech in Western New York at Clinton.
Look, there's Howie Newsom.
Oh, Bessie. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Alvin.
You're out early.
This one asked me to hold it, though. I got to talk to my instructor. I didn't have my instructor.
But they're dead, they died. And there's Joe Crowell. Morning,
Morning, Bill.
Children, Wally, Emily, time to get up. Mom, I'm here. Oh, young Melissa. I didn't know she was ever that young. You can dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry. Good morning, Mr. Newsom.
Good morning, Miss.
It's cold.
Yes, Miss Webb. It's Temple, my barn.
Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Come on, Bessie.
Mama, I can't find a blue hair ribbon anywhere. Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you special there on the dresser. If it were a snake, it'd bite you. Yes. Yes.
Morning, Bill. Morning, Mr. Lester. I'm early.
Yes, just been back from college in New York State. Any trouble here? Just been arrested for Bull's file. Whatever your fool's death it was.
We must get in the papers.
Wasn't large.
Morning, Mother.
Hello, Charles. How did it go?
It went well. Found a few things. Anything happen here?
Can't think of anything that's happened special. Been right cold. Howie Newsom says it's 10 below where he was born.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. It ain't pretty. Did you grab any mistakes in it?
None that I've noticed. Coffee's ready when you want it. Charles, don't forget. It's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her anything?
Yes, I've got something great here for her. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. You can see her at breakfast. She's slow enough as it is. Children, hurry up! Now I don't want to call you again. Oh, I can't bear it. They're so beautiful. Why'd they ever have to get old? Mama, I'm here. I love you all. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Can I go in? Good morning, Mama. Oh, my dear. Very happy birthday to you and many happy returns. There are surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table. Mommy, you shouldn't have. But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up to be a good, strong girl. That and the blue paper is from your Aunt Carrie. And I reckon you can guess who brought over the postcard album. That one on the doorstep when I brought in the milk. George Gibbs. Must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right, nice man. Well, George, I'd forgotten that. Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll keep you warm on a cold day. Mama, just look at me 1 minute as though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead.
Saints and poets, maybe. They do some.
Ready to go back.
Are you happy?
No. I should have listened to. That's all human beings are. Just blind people.
Look, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
It's just instant. I should have listened to them.
Yes. Now you know. Now you know. That's what it was to be alive. Move about in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down, trembling on the feelings of those about you. Spend and waste time as though you had a million years. To be at the mercy of one self-centered passion or another. That's what it was. That's the happiness to what's new. Ignorance and blindness.
That ain't the whole truth, and you know it, Simon Stimson. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
My boy Joel was a sailor. You know long. He's a set off for me because it's tongue on my name. Yes, sir. Wonderful.
The stars might be good company. Yes, yes it is.
Another one of them come along.
That's funny. Take no time to message me here. Look at this city. Well, their gift is George.
Yes, dear.
It's George.
My Joel knew the stars. He used to say, "Young years, go to their light, come to earth." That's what he used to say. Young years.
Goodness, that ain't the way we did. You ought to be home. Well, their gifts,
Yes, Emily?
they don't understand, do they?
No, dear. You don't understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. There are a few lights on. Shorty Hawkins just watched the only train go by. And down at the livery stable, somebody's sitting up late and talking. Yes, it's clearing up. There are the stars, and they're all crisscrossed in the sky. Scholars haven't settled on the matter yet, but they seem to think there's no living beings up there. Just chalk, fire. Only this one's straining away. Straining away to make something of itself. The strain's so great that every 16 hours, everybody lies down and gets a rest. I live on the clock in those corners. You get a good rest too.